Okay, Trinidad and Tobago, good morning to everyone. I'm going to take you live now to Dr. Livet, who is in studio today. Good morning, Dr. Livet, and how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Pastor Google?
I'm blessed.
How was the weekend?
Quiet, very quiet.
Of course, this is my first time on radio since Mother's Day, so I want to wish all the mothers of Trinidad and Tobago and all over the world I hope you had a very special day yesterday. And this morning, it's always my privilege to be here with you on a Monday and to help you to, keep things in perspective, get the information that you need to be healthy and to stay healthy. And this Monday is no different. Of course, my name is Uchenna Hackett. My clients call me Dr. Livet. And every Monday, we're here to share, again, the things that you need in this crazy world these days to keep your health in focus and to keep your wellness optimal so that you can survive this pandemic and not just do that, but to strive in terms of your health and longevity. Today's topic is one that I have spoken about in passing on many of my shows over time, and I felt as if these days I see a lot of clients in my clinic talking about, or I should say men in particular, complaining about erectile function or dysfunction, and it's a real big issue that I wanted to just dedicate one whole show to men's health, in particular, erectile function. Of course, the Livet Wellness Center is located at the corner of First Avenue on 8th Street in Browns Harrier. Numbers to call, 355-7801. That number, again, is a new number. The old number, which is a TSTT number, is still not working. They said someone vandalized the line, and they're not sure when they're going to fix it. So, I don't know. It is what it is. So the new numbers is 355-7801. Of course, the Livet Wellness Center, we provide a lot of different health products to help you to keep you in check, including and not excluding some food items as well, healthy food items and herbal supplements, zinc and vitamin D, and all the things you need to boost the immune system is available. Because of the current lockdown, I would recommend that if you need to get products or services, that you can get that online. And of course, we could deliver for you for free anywhere in Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm actually putting together an immune boosting pack, which will include U-Juice, zinc, vitamin D, and Super Immune, which has herbs that are very, very potent to help with cold and flu symptoms, right? So next Monday, I'm going to talk about that package that you can get delivered straight to your door. All right, so a couple of things I found interesting about erectile dysfunction. Did you know that excessive aerobic exercise can reduce testosterone levels by as much as 40%? That's a very huge number. So while aerobic exercise is good, but it has the effect to cause your muscles to waste away if you're doing too much of it. And so your testosterone does the same thing up to 40%. So just something for us to be aware of once I get through all this information I put together today for you guys. Also, exposure to sunlight increases your testosterone production by up to 200%. And again, that is in part with the production of vitamin D. So vitamin D is very, very important for erectile function. An interesting fact I want to share is men with ED some of them don't actually have ED. Of course, ED is short for erectile function. Older men are more likely to suffer from erectile dissatisfaction than erectile dysfunction. So that's an interesting thing if you think about it. They're saying that older men are more likely to suffer from erectile dissatisfaction. I wonder why. That's a conversation that I guess for those who are listening this morning may think about. And I don't want to get into what could be causing the dissatisfaction. Sometimes marriages could be hard, I guess, or relationships. But nonetheless, this study was interesting, and they pointed out that some men don't actually have erectile dysfunction. They have erectile dissatisfaction. So that I found interesting. So this means that getting and keeping an erection has become more difficult and is more frustrating than it was, but it's still not impossible to have it. Penises are fragile. I looked at all the different points to talk about this morning, and I felt this one was important. So it says, yes, you can break your penis. Some people asked me that already. I had a guy, his penis, a client of mine, it twisted. There was a bend in it that wasn't there before. And so, yes, you could break your penis. It's not like a bone, of course, because the penis is soft, spongy tissue, and it needs blood for it to become erect. But what happens is the blood vessels can break within the penis burst, carrying painful swelling. According to the UK's National Health Service, 1/3 of penile fractures cases are attributed to sexual intercourse where the partner is on top. So I want to repeat that. 1/3 of penile fractures or fracture cases are attributed to sexual intercourse where the partner is on top, your partner. So, women, please don't contribute to the penile fractures, right? Remember, the penis is really fragile. A man's ego is fragile too. So don't cause any damage there. So erections happen early. Another fact I found interesting to share this morning. And so early that even in your mother's womb, you were having erections. I didn't know that. I found that was interesting. So men who have erectile dysfunctions, they go to drugs like Viagra, but medications don't always work. And according to this study, they say that some men need to keep increasing the dose, which comes with increasing intense side effects of the drugs. Now, bear in mind that there are two mechanisms to have an erection. The mechanism of your hormones, like testosterone, and the other mechanism is through just simple circulation, right? So if you're having issues within your vascular system, then we're going to have trouble to have erections and to maintain erections. So that's two different things. And then the other issue men have is premature ejaculation. So we're going to go through some solutions and talk about that as we move along on today's show. And of course, I want to hear from you men. We're going to open the lines and hear what you think about the information that I'm sharing with you today. Now, if you have erectile dysfunction, Viagra is not the reason why you have erectile dysfunction. You have erectile dysfunction more than likely because you have some underlying diseases that you are unaware of. So some of the things that contribute to erectile dysfunction would be heart disease, because heart disease, the similarity between the heart and the prostate is circulation, and your penis, I should say. So as circulation contracts, circulation is cut off. And so that's where, if somebody already has hypertension and heart disease, we know that if we fix the cardiovascular system, we're going to see improvement in both your heart and the penis. We had Dr. Richardson here at least twice on this show, and in both shows we talked about chelation therapy using something called EDTA. And so what that does, it clears out your whole vascular system in 3 to 6 months. And in the clients that we started doing it with so far, not only did their erectile dysfunction improve, their blood pressure numbers also decreased, and their eyesight also improved. Because everything that starts to go dim, let me call it that, is because of lack of circulation and some issues within the vascular system. So that's important to understand. Other things that causes constriction in the vascular system is uncontrolled diabetes. So diabetics always have an issue at some point in time with erectile dysfunction. And in order to cure the problem, we have to fully reverse diabetes, which of course is the easiest thing to do. I think there are things that are much more difficult. Diabetes is the easiest thing to get under control without having to use medication. If you have multiple sclerosis or high cholesterol, different things will actually be the underlying reason for your erectile dysfunction, and that's why it's important to do blood work. You know, we check everything else, we need to check on us, and doing blood work will give you a good idea where your testosterone levels are. We can check your DHEA levels via lab work, and we can check your zinc levels. So these are things that we can check, and vitamin D, because again, vitamin D is even important for erectile function. Imagine that. Apart from boosting the immune system, vitamin D is also important for erectile function. So we can test those things in your blood. So if you have erectile dysfunction, we could also test HbA1c, which again is a marker, long-term marker for diabetes. And there are many people who are diabetic and they just don't know. I meet them all the time in my office. And it's important to understand that these are now comorbidities or things that increases the risk of dying from COVID-19. So these are all things that make sense to do anyway, apart from erectile dysfunction. So in all of the things I did this morning, I thought, well, and I should say in getting ready for this show, I said, I wonder if COVID-19, while I'm talking about COVID-19, has any effect on erectile function. In fact, a study showed that men could be 6 times more likely to develop erectile dysfunction following COVID-19, according to a study. So I found that was also interesting. And again, that's because COVID-19 has a negative effect on your circulatory system because of the excess inflammatory, or what they call cytokine storm that occurs when you get the infection. So you have more inflammation in the blood, which again causes vasoconstriction. So it all comes back to understanding how we get an erection to start with. So if you get an infection or a virus that triggers excess inflammation as a response, and inflammation is simply a white blood cells, the natural killer cells, trying to kill the virus. And if it's too much of it, any inflammation in your blood is going to have a negative effect on your vascular health. So certain medications also can cause you to have erectile dysfunction, and those medications usually would cause, same thing, vasoconstriction or a reduction in the blood flow. Overall, that may be going to or not going to where it needs to get to. So about 1 in 10 cases of erectile dysfunction is also caused by psychological reasons. I've met at least 3 men in their 60s who shared their story with me on the psychological side. And one of them said his father caught him having sex when he was in his teenage years. And it was so traumatizing for him that it affected him getting erections all of his life. Of course, it got worse as he got older. Other men shared other stories, which, you know, I don't want to share all the stories, but they all had a psychological link to it, why whenever the event of sex came about, it affected them. I'll share one more. One guy said that a girl, one of his first experiences, told him how small his penis was. And so that, of course, messes with a man's brain. And so whenever he were to have sex with somebody new or even with an existing person, there was a kind of a shame where that was concerned. And that is something that a man should never really have to be ashamed of, because it is what it is. But these are the kind of things that affect men, some men psychologically speaking. So those are more difficult things to fix because there's no herb necessarily for that, but having a conversation, I guess, with a psychiatrist may help. Sexually transmitted diseases also can cause erectile dysfunction, like gonorrhea. They do impact your testicles, and which, of course, your testicles produce sperm. When bacteria are present, when you ejaculate, it produces chemicals that hinder sperm function. So that, of course, is very important to not sleep around. You know, gonorrhea is a bacterial infection, really, and people have it, and you know, men are so ashamed that they have a sexually transmitted disease, or they're not sure what they have, and they wouldn't go and check. It's important to check and know what's happening with their health, especially your reproductive health, because these are things that may impact your, not just your sex life overall, but as you get older, it is going to have an impact on your health of your prostate, which at that point in your life is a whole different thing now, where you're trying to make sure your PSA. Most men don't know, especially young men. You don't know. The most important thing to pass, the test to pass, is a PSA test as you get older. And there are young men now in their 40s who have high PSA levels, which is a marker for prostate health, and is a marker that you should check every year if you're over 40 to see if it's consistent. Because as it starts to elevate, it elevates for two reasons. One is because of the prostate becoming larger, so it makes more of this hormone, this what we call PSA, or prostate-specific antigen. And the other reason, of course, is cancer. Because with cancer, if the cancer is in the prostate, then the prostate makes more PSA as well, because the tumor grows, right? So it's important to check these markers, men. What I normally see with men and the PSA levels, for example, the ones who tend to have a low PSA in their 60s, 70s, are usually men who never really ate meat or dairy, or never had it as much, or don't have it as much. So that's an interesting point to note. Stress can decrease sexual function and interfere with hormones needed to produce sperm. The average sperm, if you were to ejaculate and they were to test your sperm count, for example, your sperm count should be about 40 to 60 million. Most men, I met a young man a couple of months ago who his sperm count was 2 million. And he was in his 20s, and it's something that is very prevalent now. And the reason for that is because alcohol lowers your sperm count, smoking lowers your sperm count, and we have a culture of smoking and drinking, especially with young men, the young zesters. And these young zesters don't realize that they're zesting their sperms too, and reducing their capability of having a healthy sex life, right? So these are things just to be aware of, especially if you're young and full of zest. So, I'm just going back to my notes to keep on track now. Of course, this was interesting. I had to bring this one up as well, because scientists have noted that men in rural areas who are farmers, and of course farmers spray pesticides, so they were looking at the chemicals the farmers were using, they have a common low sperm count versus men who are living in the urban areas. So agriculture runoffs also get into tap water and can disrupt hormonal processes. This happens not just in grown men, but also in developing fetuses. So that means that the sperm of the farmer, for example, would also have problems when the sperm meets the egg and becomes a fetus. And they are saying that this hormone disruption can be with them for the rest of their life. Imagine that. So these are things that we have to be aware of. And this is why detoxing is so important, because if you have a toxic job and you are exposed to toxic chemicals in your job, it affects your egg, if you're a woman, of course, and it affects the sperm. And if you're trying to have a healthy baby, then I always say to people, do a cleanse before I get pregnant. Because we have herbs, and we have binders, and we have infrared saunas and everything we have is just to flush the body from the things that should not be in it. And the good thing is you can, even though you're exposed to it, you can clean yourself up before you think of having children. We should really plan to have children, and it's not just whoops and be pregnant. So another interesting thing I found with ED is watching TV. A study in 2013 from the British Journal of Sports and Medicine found that men who watch TV 20 hours or more per week had sperm counts that were 44% lower than those men who didn't watch TV. Can you guess why? Of course, we're going back to circulation, because if you're sitting watching TV, of course, your circulation is going to be less and limited. So physical activity, just not too much aerobics. So remember I said earlier on aerobics, too much aerobics lowers your testosterone levels by as much as 40%. So, so here's the other extreme to it. And the other extreme, of course, is sitting down too much for 20 hours of TV or more per week. Now, they didn't check phone time, right? But there are people who sit on their phone. So sitting on your phone is just as bad as for more than 20 hours a week. A week, is just as bad as watching TV, because it's the same situation of you sitting and not doing anything is the problem. So this information is life-saving, guys, as it always is. So I really want you all to share this live, share this with your friends. This information is very, very useful, and it's stuff that we all need to know and to be aware of, especially for men. Especially if you're a woman listening right now, you want your man to be healthy, share the live. All right. Of course, if you have questions, you could always message us either on WhatsApp or on social media on Facebook, and we'll see if we can answer questions there as well. Where are we and how are we doing with time? Good. So we'll take some calls in about 5 minutes. I just have a couple more things to go through here. Other things that actually contribute to erectile dysfunction, right? So cash register receipts and plastics, about 40% of receipts are coated with BPA of receipts. Of course, plastics also have BPA in them, and they are both linked to infertility. Canned foods, the biggest source of BPA are actually canned foods. So if you're having canned foods, know that you are consuming BPA. Unlike most plastic manufacturers now, since the BPA scare, which is many, many years ago, like before we even put a product in a plastic bottle, we made sure it was BPA free. But canned foods may still have BPA, and receipts that you're going to get still have BPA. And again, these are things that we could detox, right? So, and because you can't escape everyday life, but you could cleanse, frequently enough anyway, so that you keep yourself healthy, right? So we know that that also contributes to erectile dysfunction. Sex toys made out of vinyl contain phthalates, which are linked to cancer, allergies, birth defects, and infertility. Sex toys. This is, of course, for men and women, because women actually use sex toys more than men. And so it's important to understand that sex toys have phthalates. And I want to just repeat myself, because this is, again, very, very, very important information, that these phthalates contribute to cancer, which is huge, allergies, birth defects, and infertility. So it's important for us to understand that once we stray from what God intends and we try to feel as if we could create something that's better or do something that's different, there are side effects to this, right? So women or men, you know what your frequency of use is. I am just the messenger, right? So your shower also could have phthalates, and they're also found in scented soaps, shampoos, and cleaners, and vinyl shower curtains. Those, I would say, are less of a headache, but you could always look on the label to see. There are some newer, healthier options now in terms of, I use something called Dr. Broma's. It's a soap that I use, and that's, of course, phthalate-free, and is more or less natural, right? People start using black soap. We can go back to natural stuff, and, always trying to make sure that whatever you're putting on your skin every day, because your skin is a sponge, so whatever you're putting on your skin every day shouldn't be the wrong thing, because it's every day. And every day you put something, it's going to build up more and more and more, and that is not what you want to happen. So a long time ago, all of my deodorants changed. I use something called a crystal, and you have to actually wet it with some water, and it uses salts and other things. So I wear that instead of regular deodorant. So these are things, again, just to be aware of, right? Cell phones and laptops. This is a study by the Environmental Working Group, and they reviewed the scientific literature and reported that 10 studies, not one, 10, have found significant changes in sperm exposed to cell phone radiation. In the most striking findings, men who carry their cell phones in their pocket or on the belt were more likely to have low sperm counts and or more inactive or less mobile sperm. So we measure sperm not just in the amount of sperm, we measure the motility. So your sperm is like a tadpole that swims up, right? And so this study is showing that it decreases sperm count, but also the motility. So even if you have 20 million sperms, they are slow swimmers and can't get up to the fallopian tube to fertilize the egg. So this is your cell phone now. And the cell phone and their frequencies are getting more and more intense now. This study was done back in 2007, right? So this is the old study. Since then, this was in the 3G world, I believe. Now it's 4G, now it's 5G. Whenever the G goes up, the number in front of the G go up, the intensity of the signal goes up, and the potential for harm goes up. So, again, these are things that the one last point I'll make before we take calls is that tight pants can also cause a problem. Tight pants, men. So, of course, the testicles have to be at an exact temperature to produce healthy sperm. So, your body has a muscle that lowers and raises the testicles to create this exact temperature of sperm production. It raises it and lowers it to figure out where's this exact temperature, right? And when you're wearing a tight pants, what happens? When you wear tight pants, what literally happens is it restricts the regulation up and down and prevents the body from maintaining the temperature for a healthy sperm. So I think baggy pants finally coming back in style. We kind of have a era of, I think the era of tight pants, styles cycle all the time, right? So I think slacker pants coming back in style these days. So again, something to be aware of if you have erectile dysfunction or maybe trying to get pregnant and not sure why. One more thing I want to point out is a documentary called Game Changers, which blew my mind completely. See, in this documentary, it's a doctor called Dr. Spritz, and he highlighted a study. He had three young men, and they were looking at the vasoconstriction effects of diets, right? So one night, he gave them a burrito. That's like a wrap, right? But the wrap had black beans in it, and the other wrap had meat in it. So one night, well, before I get to that, he installed on the penises of these three young men something like a ring. So it's a ring that expands because the men have 5 to 7 erections while they sleep, right, every night. So when the penis becomes erect, this band expands and it measures it measures the circumference of the penis, and it measures the frequency of erection and how long the erections lasted. The result of that test showed, after giving them basically a plant-based burrito one night and a burrito filled with meat the other night, he found that the night when he gave them the plant-based burrito, they had a 303% in terms of the amount of times that let me read this exactly. So the athlete's nighttime sexual arousal was measured as lasting more than 3. So this is how long the erections last for. Is 303% longer it lasted for, and 477 times longer. Longer, right? The hardness of the erections increased significantly too, in one case by 13%, the hardness of the erection. So this to me blew my mind, because I never thought that from one night to the other night. So the test was done one night with the plant-based burrito and the other night again with the meat. And from one night to the other night, he saw, this is his observations. He wrote a book called The Penis Book. So he knows, this is a medical doctor. Eh? So he knows a little thing about the penis. He wrote a book about it, right? So for those of you who have not seen Game Changers, I think you should go and take a look at Game Changers, right? Another study noted that endothelial function decreased by 27% with one hamburger. So by eating a hamburger, it caused this inflammatory response that reduced endothelial function by 27%. And endothelial function, the endothelial is the layer of skin inside the walls of the artery, and so which facilitates proper circulation. So it reduced it by 27%, which would explain why the meat eating group in one night had a restriction, and the plant-based group with the burrito had vasodilation, which is the opposite effect, and so they had better erections overall. So I hope that this conversation has helped this morning. I'm going to get into some of the things that you could do to boost your erectile function if that is your concern, or maybe you're trying to get pregnant and you're trying to figure out what's the best thing to do if I am exposed to chemicals. And so that's why I always recommend cleansing and detoxing again before you get into planning to have your family, right? So what are some of the things that you can do? I started talking about a whole body detox, chelation therapy, which we currently do at the clinic, herbal treatments, of course, right? So L-arginine, 2,000 milligrams of L-arginine will give you a similar erection to Viagra. L-arginine, 2,000 milligrams. Why? Because L-arginine is an amino acid that boosts circulation almost immediately. L-arginine, you can get that. I used to have it in stock. Just giving you all the different things to do. But L-arginine, you should be able to get that in any pharmacy. But the dose that you need is 2,000 milligrams to have a similar effect. I'd still don't recommend self-treating, but I'm giving you some things, right? Sure. L-arginine, it's an amino acid. A-R-G-I-N-E. Other things to do, what I normally use is a blend. We use tribulus and tonkat alley. The both of them are very, very powerful and helps men with erectile dysfunction. I have that in my blend. And there are other herbs as well. So zinc is important. Zinc not only boosts the immune system, but zinc boosts your testosterone levels and also helps with vasodilation. Vitamin D is called, in one study, they're calling vitamin D the new Viagra. And this study said that it improves erectile dysfunction. Men who receive vitamin D supplements showed increased testosterone levels and improved erectile function, according to that report. So turmeric does so as well, curcumin in particular, and it does that because it helps to clean the blood and to boost circulation overall. And of course, red Korean ginseng, there are a couple of different studies about red Korean ginseng. No, my juice is not medicine. It's medicine, but it's not medicine. I only say that because I can't say take juice for this, that, or the other. Because the dosage of red Korean ginseng in juice is good to the point where I have had men say it did help their erectile function, but those men, I imagine, didn't have a really bad situation. Because erectile function have degrees of erectile function. I always ask, well, how much erections do you get? Do you wake up with an erection? And if you're having sex, if you have an erection, how long it lasts? So I ask specific questions to figure out the degree of disease so that we can treat things based on the degree, right? So, but there is red Korean ginseng in juice, and I have had people, wow. And we have had people who gave us that feedback, right? So red Korean ginseng, my time is actually almost up, so I can't go through all of it, but there are many studies showing that it does help. This one study looked at 350 milligrams of red Korean ginseng. The men were able to have, they had reduction in premature ejaculation, and their sexual performance improved once they took red Korean ginseng. So that said, I didn't get any time to take any calls, but feel free to give us a call at the office, 355-7801. You can visit our website at livethealth.com, and we will be very happy to solve this problem or any other problems that you may have. Just call the Wellness Center, and we'll be happy to help you. We do have operators on standby today. So it was so nice to be here with you. I hope this information was beneficial to you this morning. I hope that you shared this live. And as we always say, live mighty, live healthy, live at.